Living the good fat life with your host Karen and Sherri. They'll help everything align for your body, soul, and mind. The good fat life, whether change comes slow or dramatically. The good fat life will help you sort things out organically.
Hey. I know. Can't not laugh.
It always takes a moment, doesn't it? Right?
Yeah, it makes me want to play. Thank you, Ollie Pleasant, for that great song that you played for us.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So today we have a little bit of a different format.
Yeah.
Right?
Just
so
you and I,
it's
right?
just us. And I'm like, that's not the right way to say it. It's not just us.
Yes,
It's
us. Jinx. Yeah. We're kind of back to where we started, right? Our first podcast was just you and I. And remember, we did it from our offices and it was Zoom,
Oh,
right?
that's right. On
yeah.
Zoom.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah, on Zoom. And that was like over
a year ago.
I think
Can you
because
believe
this
it?
is like 47 or 48.
Yeah. Right?
Where the time goes.
And you don't where does the time go? Because it feels like play, right? We don't have it just seems like how could that even be?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And as I think back on the guests that we have,
Oh my gosh.
every single one of them has just been, it's like opened a whole new door.
Yeah, right? And
Yeah.
they showed up right at the exact time we needed them. So thank
Right.
you to our guests and to all the people that have supported us. It's been wonderful. How lucky are we? Right?
It is. Yeah, it is. And so on that, so what we thought we would do today is, so we have a Good Fat Life, our magazine, right? I never can.
I know, it's hard.
So anyway, so here's the magazine, and anybody who's interested in get it, if you scan the QR code,
yep.
you'll get the link, or you can go to goodfatlife.com and get a subscription for it and have it show up at your doorstep 4 times a year.
Absolutely.
So anyways, so our next, one of the big premises of Good Fat Life is self-care, right? It's how important it is to take care of yourself. And of course, it all starts by eating good fat.
Of course.
Right?
Absolutely, yes.
Because good fat is heart healthy, it's hormone healthy. There's a gazillion things that the good fat does for you. And there's a wonderful article about fish oil and all the wonderful things of fish oil in this last issue. But this episode, we're going to focus on the different buckets of self-care and how play builds into that, right?
Right? Who even knew that was part of self-care? Did you? I didn't know that
No.
before we started delving into
I never thought about it.
It makes so much sense now, right?
It does. It does. And so what I thought might be helpful is, let's kind of go through the different areas of self-care and then talk about, kind of like our discovery adventure and how you can play into it.
Yeah.
And then we can talk about our play challenge
Yep.
and the cool stuff that's happening there. Right? Does that work?
And then I also want to challenge ourselves and try to find play in each arm of the self-care chart, right?
so
to find play in each one of those as well.
So
not just in play.
Yeah, let's start there. So let's
Okay.
but let's talk about play a little bit for a
Sure.
minute. So one of the things that I love about the magazine is that it has given me. I'm a research nut. I mean,
I know that.
I love.
You don't have to tell me that.
I know.
You're the classiest lady I know. You're in every class.
You're so sweet. That's why we're a good team, right?
Right?
Because
Yeah,
I love
you
to
like to go to
research,
classes,
you love
and I like
play.
to. I get to get the cliff notes from
Yeah,
you.
exactly. So, but anyway, so I found that there's a play institute, right?
Of course, yes.
Right. And so, and the reason that there is, and I don't know that much about it, it's on my list to spend more time. But one of their definitions of play that I thought was just so cool is play is something done for its own sake. It's voluntary, it's pleasurable, it offers a sense of engagement, and it takes you out of time. And that the act itself is more important than the outcome.
Well, we just mentioned that right before we went on. I was like, that's the difference between play. No one's going to come up after and give you like a synopsis of how you played and whether it was correct or not. That feels so freeing, right? Like there's no negative feedback about, there's no wrong way to do it.
No wrong way to play.
There's no wrong way to play. You just play.
Right. And so one of the things, and so let's dive into that conversation a little bit deeper. So I was listening to video, I guess, in a course with Eckhart Tolle. And one of the things he was saying is that all of us by nature, we have these egos, and these egos are always looking for the negative part, right? The negative part of us. And we'll say, you're not enough, you're not this, you're blah, 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 blah. And so his kind of point is that's what stops us from being our full magnificence that we were born with.
Yeah.
And as you were saying, which I thought was brilliant, is that when we play, we don't feel that. It's kind of like that opportunity, that place where you can go, where that ego voice is not saying you're doing this wrong, right? It's because you don't even your mind doesn't even go there because you're just in the flow.
Right. You know, it totally reminds me of, is like everyone had that one friend growing up where they're like, if you didn't play the way they wanted to, they're like, I'm taking my toys and I'm going home. So it's almost like, I'm going to take my ego and I'm going home, you know, like I'm leaving my ego so I can play. You know what I mean? Like,
I love that. That's awesome. Right. And so as we were thinking like, well, what does play, and play is different for everybody. But if you use that as your work, like we were just saying with, I can get lost in my work, and I do this all the time where I lose track of time, and then I'm always in trouble because I'm late.
Yeah.
And it's not intentional. It's just, I'm just somewhere else.
Yeah. Right.
And that feels really good.
It does. Yeah. Totally good. It's like an escape, right?
Right. Or it's, I would even say, let's say it's like we're in our kind of flow. It's in, it's not even, sorry, I forgot to turn my phone off.
That's okay.
It's not even that we're escaping. It's just where we were designed to be when we're just being ourselves.
Yeah. When you were a kid, did you ever play and you had like such a great time and then you want to recreate that with your friends? You're like, okay, well, let's do that again. And then it's just not there because you're trying to control it. Have you ever had that? I used to have those situations where like, do you remember that day? Let's do that again. And then it's not the same because then again, that's your ego. Like, okay, we got to reproduce that. You can't, right?
And do it this way, right? Yeah. No, my granddaughters have been playing in the mud since COVID's been, and they've been playing in the mud and making mud pies and stuff. And I just remember when we were kids, we used to make mud pie bakeries.
Oh, fun.
You know, with cookies and cakes and pies. And then we'd have a tea party, and it was so much fun. Right. And you're just a mess. And right. But it was fun. We just got and my brother and I used to make we used to have bubble factories when we were real little in the bathtub. And make these big bubble things.
Oh, and
it was
so much fun.
Right. It was so much fun, and there's just such a beautiful energy there.
Yeah, and just so much imagination, and like anything's possible, you know? And working like with and fun is also like work, you know, you're playing literally in the mud. Like and making that spectacular, right? Like how amazing is that? Or just like in the tub, like just being in the water, like that's using the earth and all the things. So it shows you in every moment, everything you need is right there. And you can make it beautiful and amazing and fun and get in a zone, or you can like, oh, it's mud, you know, like it shows you.
Or I don't have XYZ.
I don't have a cash register for a mud bakery. Yeah. You know what I mean? I don't have the equipment. I don't have the staff.
Right. That's hysterical.
I don't have the advertisement.
You just recruit more, right? It was fun. But in some ways, I mean, I think about it now. I never thought about this until just now, Karen, is when I was a kid, I loved making companies. Just dawned on me, you know, we would have bubble factories and we would make bubbles for our customers, right?
That's hysterical.
And we had bakeries.
Yeah.
Bud pie bakeries. And
that's so interesting because when all my play was like, I would imagine what everyone would wear and what kind of dishes we had and what the experience was and all the things that light me up now as an adult. That was important to me in play. Like I would set the stage of what the house looked like and what you're wearing and you know what I mean? Like the kind of the things that are important to me now.
The things that you just do beautifully now. Yeah. That is, it's just like
profound, right?
It's kind of like, what the heck? That's
we
so
said
cool.
in the magazine before, like, think about the 9-year-old you and what did that kid want? And when you think about that, that really is like the truest sense of really what lights you up, you know, and you kind of forget about that, you know?
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be, I mean, it's, so as we were kind of looking for the Good Fat Life Play Challenge, so we're going to do a 21-day play challenge, right?
Oh my gosh, what does that look like?
And yeah, but it's been fascinating to say, what is it? Well, first off, let's say why it's important.
Sure.
Because I have to go there, right?
Yeah, I know. You got to get your research out.
Right, the research out. And so play keeps people young.
Yeah.
Right? It keeps you tapped into your, what inspires you, to your vibrancy. I'm not even going to say youthfulness. I'll say vibrancy. And one of the things that is so important for us humans, is that we have the opportunity to grow every day in some way, or there's some reason to get up in the morning, right? We all need that, and it could be because you have a plant that needs watering, your cat, your family. It doesn't matter. It's just
whatever. Or you got your
whatever's
shift at the Mud Pie Bakery.
exactly, exactly, right? And so it doesn't matter. It's all up to you. But the importance is that you have that energy of play, every day. And I've noticed since I've started talking to people about it, thinking about it, and for myself, is how easy it is. I don't know, to get the idea that we're not playing when maybe we are playing more than we think we are. I found that I am playing more than I think I am, but I haven't acknowledged it, if that makes sense.
Yes, I get that.
And so, but
Makes sense to me. I'm not
but
sure.
it's the awareness that like gives it the credence. I'm not explaining this very well.
No, you go from like doing to being, and that is a really hard concept to go over to. And once you catch yourself like, okay, now I'm being, it takes you back to the doing again, right? So it's like, it's hard to like understand that bridge, and that's the magic, right? It's almost like when you have dreams and they're amazing dreams, and then you go to say them the next day and it's like, you can't, right? There's that certain like that, you know, like how you feel in the summertime at night. There's just a certain
That's
thing.
so funny you say that, because this past week I've just felt like I felt like a 5-year-old, like excited about something. And there's been things to be excited about, but yet not. But but that energy's just bigger than that.
Yeah.
And it's just maybe the way the air feels.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
And the flowers
you become aware, right? You become aware of the way the air feels, the way the flowers smell, the way the firecrackers sound, and then that you start to
pay attention and notice.
Get in that flow. And then as soon as you go, oh, it's because of this, then you're back to but if you get like, oh, again, it's being aware of your environment, using your environment, being in the moment, and then you really feel it. That's really what play is. That's really what being there right now is, right? And the more you can do that anywhere, that's really the magic.
Yeah. And it's complicated, and it's not.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. That is so funny.
Really?
So
that's way above our pay grade.
Yeah, exactly. So, but just even that noticing, I think, it comes back to noticing again.
Yeah.
So so I had dozens of conversations with people about how they play. And what happens generally is people will just kind of give me this look like, like a minute, deer in the headlights.
Yeah.
Like, I don't play, or I don't know how I play, or whatever. And then as we kind of go deeper in the conversation, I find that there's parts of their work that they just lose themselves in. And it's like, oh yeah, it's like, I love this part about about the work I do.
Yeah.
And you just go, oh, that's so cool, right? And you can just see, because I felt that too. It's just like, oh my gosh, how lucky am I to get to do this work that I really love. And with Good Fat Life, right, we talk so much about creating the life that you want. And we create the life we want by being aware of what we want.
You know what's really interesting is I've noticed, especially as a kid growing up and people that I admired, I noticed them playing when they shifted from an adult that I didn't understand as far as like a being that wanted to be loved in a different way than being a parent or an authority figure, to flirting. And it was like they would flirt, and it was like they would be aware, say they'd be like, oh, I love your skin, darling, or something like that to another person. And they became aware, and they just said it just to be nice, and it wasn't for any outcome. And it was just like, oh, you saw the light in them because they just said something to be nice, and they saw something beautiful, and they admired it. and it shifted them in my perspective, and it's like, oh, they played there for a second. You know what I mean? And when you flirt sometimes not even flirting, just like the niceties of like being aware of other people, like, oh my gosh, that's a beautiful dress, or I just love your skin. Like that's becoming aware of the people around you, and you're shifting into that, and you don't really have any reason or goal to say that. It's just like you're becoming aware, and you're in that, like you feel brave to say these things,
or you're so comfortable. You're so comfortable that it just blurts out of you.
Yeah, and
right?
It just shows a different side to you of you're noticing these beautiful things, and it makes you beautiful. And it's kind of cool,
That's interesting. So my 4-year-old grandson was visiting a few months ago, and he doesn't know anybody here, right?
Yeah.
So it's the playgrounds had opened up, and we could go to and it was so much fun watching the kids because none of these. Well, I don't know if some of the kids knew each other or not, but they certainly didn't know my grandson.
Yeah.
But they just like welcomed him in, and he just like jumped in, and they were chasing each other all over the place, and they were giggling, and they were having fun. And I don't know if there were rules or no rules or whatever, but it was just so cool to see because there was no, oh, I'm fat or I'm thin or I'm not dressed right or, whatever.
Yeah.
There was just none of that. There was just the pure joy of just chasing each other, enjoying the,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
There's this cute story. My nieces, they were like, before I had children, and they still are, they were just like the joy of my life. And they were flying here, and they were like 2, and they got off the plane, and they said, "NKK, this is your house, but not everybody on the plane knew you." And they assumed the whole time when they were on the plane that everyone was coming to Aunt KK's house. And they went around walking around going, we were going to Aunt KK's house. What are we going to do there? And they're like, we don't know, Aunt KK. But they're like, oh, we're all going to Aunt KK's. That was so cute. And I'm like, oh, how wonderful.
Oh, my gosh. That is adorable.
Yeah.
That is so
yeah, but they just had the most lovely time, like, thinking that. And then they had the most lovely time finding out that wasn't true. And it was just, like, so cute,
That is adorable.
Yeah.
Right. And it also reinforces how, what blank slates children are.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So we do a lot of this stuff to ourselves.
Yeah, and I was thinking probably some of them might know Aunt KK on the plane, and they're welcome to come over.
You're so funny.
Yeah.
So let's go through our buckets
Sure.
a little bit and just talk about what could some play ideas be.
Okay.
That remember, play is something done for its own sake. It's voluntary. It's pleasurable. It offers a sense of engagement. It takes you out of time, and the act itself is more important than the outcome, right? So you don't care what happens.
Right.
You're not attached to the outcome, which I think is what pulls us down so often, is that we get so attached to the outcome that then we get, I don't know.
Right.
We get into control and all this other stuff. So, okay. So first one is physical. So that's sleep, stretching, walking, good nutrition, yoga, and rest. So how could we play? So one thing I will tell you that's become play for me is I took a dream course. Of course, a dream
You can't
course,
just have dreams like normal people. You got to take a course.
Well, no, but I was having dreams, and I thought, you know what? What you were talking earlier, it's like a lot of my dreams, I wake up and I'm just like exhausted.
Yeah, right? Yeah, I worked so hard last night.
I worked so hard last night, and it's like, no, I want to wake up and feel like skipping and fairies.
Yeah.
And so this dream course popped into my world, and it's really been fascinating.
Yeah.
And so you can be really playful around your dreams.
I'm sure you can.
So I'm learning to just, at night, kind of set the stage.
Oh, how is that working? Like, has
it
changed?
Actually, yes, it has,
interesting.
and it's been really fun. It's like, I'm done with those tiring dreams.
That's interesting because my dreams have changed as well, because it's almost like I have the things that I wish for and trying to manifest in my awake life. They're coming to my dreams, and I almost can't separate them anymore. It's like things I want people to say or do. I'm like, oh, I think we've already talked about that. Or like people will say to me lately, like, do you want to astro project? Do you want to try to meet each other? And I'm like, that might even be possible. All right, you coming over tonight? Like it really is fascinating. That's interesting. Yeah, and that's so Waldorf School. Do you know about them? They basically their schools are kind of. It's different than Montessori, but Waldorf believed that when you're born, the first 8 years of your life is still that dream state, like that state when you just wake up, that beautiful state.
Yeah.
And so they do everything to encourage that, and everything's based around play and fantasy for 8 years. Like they learn math like through knitting, and they do stuff with goats, and like they have like baskets of like just wood pieces and rocks, and everything is all their curriculum. Everything's just based around play and fantasy.
Wow.
And music, and it's all play, but there's a structure around it.
Of course.
However,
Right.
but it's super, super beautiful. I forgot my point, but yeah, Waldorf is like that. Like we keep the kids in the dream state to really hone into that as long as we can, and it's kind of interesting. Yeah, I looked it up for my kids. Yeah,
I'll have to do some research
Yes,
around that,
yes,
right? Yes,
yeah.
because that would be fun. But nutrition, and I think I talked about this a couple weeks ago. So my goal was to eat fruits and vegetables, right? 9 servings, and now I've added fiber to that because that's a whole nother topic on and of itself.
right.
And it's taken me a year, but I've done it, and I've found that the way I did it was to play.
Yeah,
It's like, how can I get these things into my food and be just delighted about it? And,
Yep.
with spice or with whatever.
For that, I'm going to stick to the mud kitchen. I'm going to work in the mud bakery. I'm just going to keep making those mud pies.
My latest discovery is gazpacho.
Oh, I love gazpacho.
But it's like all it is vegetables, right?
Yeah, I know. You make
so
a
you
soup,
can get
yeah.
you can get 4 servings in one meal.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Got to get those in, yeah.
Right. So the next one is emotional. So what do you think? Emotional stress management, forgiveness, compassion, kindness. How would we play with those?
I think it would be interesting to just like pretend one day, somebody's like really stuck in your craw, like somebody you're really holding a grudge to, and just pretend the entire day that you forgive them and see what that day looks like.
So
Today, I'm pretending I forgive so-and-so.
or maybe it's not even forgive. Maybe there was a card I saw once, and it said, I love you so much. Something like, I love you so much, you could dump spaghetti on my head and I wouldn't care.
Yeah, right?
So I always loved that because there's people in your world that could do that and you wouldn't care.
Yeah, right.
And then there's people who just look,
Oh, you
just
can't
breathe in the
stand it.
room
Yeah.
and you feel that. So maybe that's the thing. It's just like, okay, you can dump spaghetti on my head all day. I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe.
Just finding that way.
Yeah,
to
like
make
what
it,
else you got? Yeah, whatever works in your head that you're able to do that. Just like leave that part, that grudge and that ego part at home, and just play with that. What does it look like for me to forgive this person? And like, let me be curious about that. Or what does it look like if this person never did these things? And or like, I don't know, become like a character. I don't know. So to me, that would be interesting. And I do that sometimes. And then before you know it, it becomes part of like you don't need to do it anymore. It's
right.
just there. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is fun. You could adopt a persona or something,
Yeah.
or have them be something
Right.
different.
Well, that whole thing, like fake it to make it. People say, well, how do you succeed? Well, first you just sort of start faking it you believe in it somehow. And you start sending out to the wilderness, the universe and the universe, like, hey, I'm the head of a multimedia corporation that makes mud pies. And then before you know it, right, you're making, you know what I mean? Like, seriously, because you're not making mud pies, but you're making Good Fat Life bars and, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about me as a kid, when I moved into my new house, I was super into aesthetics and magazines and all those things as a kid. And now I moved back to where I was a kid as a person that works in magazines and a cute little house. And it's just like, whoa, from play, here it is in reality.
Reality, right.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, that is hysterical. So, okay, cool. So social. So we have
Oh, there's so many ways to play socially. I mean,
support
my gosh.
systems, right?
Yeah.
So what's your favorite way to play socially?
I like to do silly games with people. Like my friends and I, we did this one time where we would say, you have to work some fun word in a conversation that has nothing to do with anything. And you have to do it like in these situations. So like today, you're going to have a meeting later. So I'm going to I would like challenge you to say, you got to say the word juggernaut. And so usually when you do it when you're all together. Right. So it's fun because the person's trying to think how to work it in. And then when the person does it somehow, and it's always flawless and beautifully, and the person they say it to totally gets it, and then everyone else laughs, and it's like this funny moment, and like the whole day is super fun. And you make the hardest words, wanderlust or something, things people normally don't say. Yeah, so I like to do silly things like that because it really takes you out of like a normal experience, and it just makes it so fun, and it's sort of like a group energy, when is she going to do it? And
so that reminds me of something we've talked a lot about as well, is how to take the day, right? Mm-hmm. and create those little moments, those little seconds that just make you smile. Mm-hmm. Right? And we've learned, right? And by being aware, we've done that. Yeah. So there's lots of those little tiny things that just make you kind of smile all day long.
And it's like you start to support each other because like you give your friend like some word like trichotillomania and they have this business meeting and you're sitting there just like supporting them like, how are they going to do it? This is going to be and somehow they do it and you're like, yes. Right. And you believe it,
Right. Well, but then it's the energy. It's about that and staying in the moment, right? Because you have to be in the moment to do that.
Yeah. And something about playing and being in the moment is so encouraging, and it's such a giving and receiving, right? Because you have to pretend and the person has to believe. It's such a beautiful give and take, right?
Okay.
They have to believe, right? You're pretending and they have to believe what you're pretending somehow. And maybe they even don't. Just the fact that you believe it is magic, and I don't know. It's hard to explain.
So kind of what I'm hearing is it's the support. Mm-hmm. It's the support, and it's just that because every idea we have is just simply an idea.
Yeah, but think about like what you used to pretend like you wanted to be heads of corporations, and think about how the universe supported you in that, and here you are. Like think about how beautiful that you set that intention in play and became aware of it in every second of your play. And then the universe opened up and supported you, and there you are. So it's kind of like, really, it's magical.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And so, again, it goes back to everything is a balance. Everything has to be in everything. That's why it's good we're talking about play in each area, because each area has to be in each area, right?
Well, because they're all interconnected, right? And so just as a note, we're taking our 8 and making it 3.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
We can.
You're going
I can't remember 8.
Okay. Yeah.
So it'll be good.
Yeah.
Fat and life.
Yes.
So those will be the 3 buckets.
Okay.
And
cool.
More about that to come. Yeah. So spiritual. So time alone, meditation, yoga, connection, nature, journaling, sacred space. Yeah. So there's tons of play in there.
Oh yeah. Well, I feel like that's all play. Because when you're spiritual, you're aware, you're intentional, and
you're in your that place of being your highest best self. Mm-hmm. You're mindful of it, right? Meditation to me is like mind candy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and you have to be. It's almost like an actor or an actress. When you pretend, you have to have some understanding and a backstory of what that, whatever it looks like. Whether you're pretending to be a supermodel, you're pretending to be a truck driver, you have to have some understanding and empathy of what that must look like. So it sort of puts you in that spot, and you get sort of a backstory, and it sort of interconnects you with other people that you might not be connected with. Like if you want to think of it as a bigger concept, like, and you want to be the best representation of that. You know what I mean? It's like whatever it is, even if it's like a quote unquote negative, say, like improv, we talked about that with Valerie. Like, okay, you're a bus driver that's going through, like, you're an insomniac bus driver, right?
Right.
And so you get that as your task, and you're like, well, what does that look like? You want to be the best insomniac bus driver.
Right.
Whether it seems negative or not, you want to figure out what that is. And so It's kind of amazing, right? Like, well, okay, well, how would I do that? Like, what part of me can do that, you know?
So, and as you're talking, I'm thinking we talk a lot about staying in the present moment, right?
Yeah.
And also about we create the life that we want. So everything that we do right now creates what tomorrow looks like. Or if you go back to when we're children, to what many years later looks like.
And it's every single thing, people. Every single thing. You can't go, oh, no, it's not this. It is.
And every person who comes into your day, whether big, little, for years, for seconds, is part of the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
So kind of what I'm hearing is that if we do our best to have the awareness to show up, stay in the moment, as the brilliant, beautiful creators that we are, and play with it, how different of an energy
it becomes creation.
And how fun is the day.
Right.
And then not be attached to the outcome.
And how much does that open up other people to be like, this is safe. I can do this.
And not just open up, but it makes so much possible.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Because then, and we've certainly had the challenges like with the magazine and stuff to not be attached to outcome.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So, and that's been really fun.
Yeah. Right.
Right? So, yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. The day just
right,
keeps
we're really
getting more
getting
fun. Yes. And I haven't
Johnny,
even.
is this making any sense to you?
and we haven't even eaten anything.
I know.
It's been calorie free, right?
Exactly.
Okay. So personal.
Yeah.
Well, this one is so easy. Hobbies, knowing yourself, personal identity, and being true to yourself. So play can show up in a gazillion ways there.
Yeah, this is really hard for people too, right? Like, especially like I've noticed because of some of my talents, always wanting to be like, show who I am through my dress and stuff. Other people have hard time with that, right? To be aware of what that looks like for them. So that's one of my gifts to go like, oh, well, when I play. And so what do you like when you said, what do I want to wear? I'm like, well, who do you want to be that day? You
and
know?
it was so funny when you asked me that. It's for the upcoming polo event with the Heartland Chamber.
Yeah.
And so I said to Karen, I don't know what to wear. And she's like, well, what,
Yeah, who do you want to be that day? What do you want to present to the world? Like, what color does Sherri wear at a polo match? I don't know.
And when you asked me that, it was like, I had no clue. I was that deer in the headlights, like, what the heck? I don't have it, And so I even went home and I said something to Bob and said, I didn't know how to answer that question. And it's like,
did Bob know how to answer it for you?
No.
Oh,
but he just thought, he would just kind of listened. And I just found it fascinating though, that I love clothes.
Yeah.
I mean, fashion and fibers and fabrics is my deal. And I was like, I've never, ever thought about that question.
Right. Yeah.
But how fun is that?
Right. And I've never thought about textiles or anything, but that question's important to me. So I've learned that from you, right? Like, so that's the give and take too, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And so that just makes it fun to now play with what to wear.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Here's the secret, people. As far as like wearing stuff, people always say to me, I could never pull that off. Like, you put stuff together, I could never do. But you totally can. I believe in whatever character I am that day, and that's who I am. And people believe it. Not only do they believe it, but they dig it, and I dig it too, and I believe it. And so that's what play is. It's just putting on here's how I'm showing up. How are you showing up? Do you see how I showed up? Are you aware of it? And is it making you aware of how you showed up? And so that's really what play is, right? We're both here. What's our exchange?
And finding that space, so it's not like you have to contrive it.
No.
It just is.
No, there's no,
right?
Yeah, there's nothing. And you don't like go, oh, I'm going to wear this so people, no, you just do it because it's your adventure, your whatever, and you have no attachment to it. It's just your adventure. And what comes, and you just play. And that's how we should do everything, really. That when we walk into a place, when we get into a car, we have an Uber driver. Well, let me check this. Let me look at this car. What does this person have in their car? What does it say about them? What does it say about me that this is like, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
It's just,
that
again,
this is the car that
Because when you set up, when you're a little kid and you set up play, it's like, okay, pretend this, and then we have this, and then so you have to sort of set a stage a little bit for the gang. You know what I mean? It's not just like everyone's off. Yeah. There's sort of a structure to it. So that's what the world provides to us every day, and it's our job to go, oh yeah, that's where it is.
That's No, I'm just. How fun. Okay, space.
Yes.
I think this one's fun too.
Super fun.
It's so safety, healthy living, environments, security and stability, and organized space. So how do we play in our space? I think that's an easy one.
Yeah, that really is.
Right?
I mean, but not for a lot of people. Again,
right.
Some people will have I don't know how to decorate my space. I have no idea what my space should be. Really just lost.
You're right.
And so that is something people need to work on because that's really important. You have to set your own stage. Again, who do you want to be?
How do you want to feel in your space?
And what do you want to portray to the world? What does this say about you when people walk into your home? Who lives here? And then you ask yourself who does live here?
And that's such an interesting, because I think about, and then with not having COVID, with not having people in the house for the last almost year and a half, right?
Yeah.
So we had our carpets cleaned yesterday, and it felt
amazing.
It's magnificent. It just is clean and fresh.
First of all, to have someone in your house.
Well, right. Yeah. Some of those, and they were lovely people. They were so much fun, and they did an amazing job. But to your point, it's like, okay, because Bob and I are so different about having. He just doesn't care who come. I don't know. He's just like, come on in, and it doesn't matter to him whether the bathrooms are sparkling. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
Where I'm just like, oh my God,
we got it. Yeah,
exactly. And so I'm wanting to come to terms with that. Is what is that about? Is it because I feel like it's reflecting something about my space or my whatever? And so that I'm decided to make that playful and say, how do I create my personal space? Because I love my personal space.
Yeah,
but how do I create it so I don't care who drops in when? That's fine. Just come in, be welcome. Because at the end of the day, nobody really cares. If I go into your house and your bathrooms, who cares?
Yeah.
It would just be really, how did you greet me at the door?
Right.
Were you happy to see me? Or was like, oh, don't come in because my bathroom's not, whatever.
And in a way too, it's almost like for me, when I see stuff like that, I go, oh, thank God they're vulnerable too. Everything's not perfect here, but I didn't even, you know what I mean? I still had I didn't change how I felt about the time or whatever. But then I feel the same way too at my house. I'm like, no, I want people to show up and know that this is how I live. So again, it goes back to intentional, right? Am I okay with the bathroom being dirty or am I not? What's important to the person that lives here?
Right.
And so it goes back to you again and sort of setting your own stage and how do you want people to view it. And you don't have an attachment to the outcome. It's just the way you want to live and show yourself to the world.
Right.
Yeah.
And play with it.
Yeah.
Right. It's so after because we had to clear everything out to get the carpets clean. Right. And so now we're like, okay, what's not going back in? What things are so precious that we want to put them back in and what things are just going to leave the house but making it fun and not a chore. In fact, we were talking yesterday about how wow, we made this fun.
Yeah.
Right?
What's really fun too in the house is to sit in a different perspective in your house. And think about it almost as a little kid. So sit on the floor and look around the room and see what it looks like for a little kid to look in the room, to be a short little person. Yeah. And then you start noticing, oh, that would look really cute over there, or that's way too cumbersome, or sit, move a chair somewhere and look at it from that angle, or look at your room from the top of the stairs and then start to see oh, there's every angle here could be much more fascinating and beautiful. And that's really fun to play with, why did I have it here all the time? And how did that make me feel? And why didn't I can move it here now. And this is a whole new experience.
Right. Oh, okay. Financial.
Oh, this is hard for me to
Saving,
learn how to
budgeting,
play.
money.
You tell me how we
Yep.
can play in this. This is like when I'm like, oh, this is no fun. I'm taking my ego. I'm going home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I love to play in this one. I think it's so
Yeah.
much fun because it's really about, I don't know, first off, being grateful for all that we have, right? And so people will be like, oh, I hate paying bills. I hate paying taxes, blah, blah, blah. And I go, okay, great. I get that. And turn it around and make it into kind of like a playful time where you can just be so dang grateful that you get to pay for your water bill or, you know, that you made money that you had to pay taxes on or stuff. There's, again, it's how we think about it. And woohoo, I got to, you know.
Yeah.
Woohoo. I mean, Bob and I have this thing, so he reconciles the numbers at the end of every month. And so we either gained or we lost, right, in the big picture. And so it'll be, oh, yay, we get to live, you know, we get to live another 3 weeks or, or
you know, retirement.
Yeah. So so we're not going to be homeless for another 3 weeks, you know, at the end of our retirement, we added it on or, oops, well, you know, we lost 3 months this month in the long-term retirement. But it's because it's playful. We made it into a game as much as possible. And then the energy shifts and you go, okay, woohoo.
Oh, it totally shifts. And then it makes other stuff doesn't even matter anymore. You know what I mean? It's like, why was I so worried about, and you always get provided for. I mean, you should know your numbers and all that, but somehow people worry so much and somehow you always get provided for, you know? And that's the fun of it too. Like just go, I'm going to just let it. I'm going to just understand the best I can, prepare myself the best I can, and also not be attached to an outcome. And that's where abundance comes as well. Like, I'm going to do the best I can. I'm going to set the intention and not being attached to an outcome.
Well, and I think we've also talked about that sense. You get that trusting and that knowing that no matter what, we'll be fine. Yeah. We'll be fine. And, you know, and sometimes there's been times in my life when I just go, because I love to read. I go, well, books are free at the library. So I will always have a plethora of books to read for free. Right?
Yeah. It's just, you just shift your perspective.
Right.
Yeah. And how much fun would it be to go to the library? And what's that? You know what I mean? Like, you just got to keep shifting. And, you know, we all know, like, stuff gets drudgery. We're not saying everything's like Sally Sunshine, but believe me, we're not always like, you know, in play mode. However, the more you can do that, it really does change everything. And it's like, nobody comes home from the day at the, you know, the play office and goes, oh man, today did not work out how I thought it was going to be. Like, you know, I got fired. You know what I mean? It's just like whatever happened in your play was, nobody ever judges it, right? So it's just like, you're not attached, you know, it's just like, oh, when we were playing, this happened and I feel so attached to it and I'm really upset. No, it's gone, right? It just was what it was and now it's gone.
Well, that's funny you say that because my granddaughter made this perfect mud ball. She spent like an hour on it. It's beautiful. It was perfect. And then
who knew that was generational, right?
Yeah,
She's
exactly.
ready to work. Yeah.
Exactly. And then I asked her about it, if I could see it. Her parents took a picture and sent it to us. Asked her, she goes, "Oh, it broke." But it wasn't like oh, my world is collapsed. It broke. Right. It's just like it was a mud ball. It broke. Yeah. I'll make another one.
Right.
But, so you're right about that. Okay, so work. The last one. Time management, work boundaries, positive workplace, more learning, break time. So
well, think first of all, be intentional about your work, right? So if you know you're picking a job that you're probably not going to love, ask yourself about that, number one. And we know we all have to do stuff that we don't love and people have to take certain jobs for certain things. However, you can stick to your mission in anything. Like, say it's really important to you to be, I don't know, friendly or loving. You can do that in any job. You know, that can be your play, or I don't know, that's what it is for me. Like, whatever job you're in, whatever your mission is and your vision is, you can work that in anywhere, you know?
Right. Oh, you can. And that's almost a prereq for how you move into the next thing. Right? So if we can show up grateful and with a playful energy.
And leave whatever happened at work and it's over, right? Oh, it broke. So I spent all day making this mud ball for my boss, and then it broke. You know, like in the real world, you're gonna be upset, but you're like, oh, it broke. And
how can I do a better job tomorrow? Or
yeah,
whatever.
and not even that. You just have no attachment. Oh, it broke. You know, and you don't even have to attach to that. Like it's gone.
Gone.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, okay. So lots of thoughts, and this it's funny. As I was working on the 21-day play challenge, which is going to be launched here in the next month. And so we're going to ask people to spend 21 days and just write down something that you did to play. And it could be 5 minutes. It could be a whole day. It doesn't matter, right? There's no rules, right? You get to choose. And then
The only rule is there is no rule.
the only rule is there is no rule. And yeah, that it should go back to the definition of play.
Yeah.
Right? It can't be. So some of these things like sounded like I was looking through like lists because there's like lists all over, and some of them would like, break an old habit, and I'm like, no, that's not fun.
Well, again, so you have to be intentional. If that doesn't sound fun to you and like play, that's not what lights you up, right?
Right.
Yeah. Or you'll set the stage of play where somebody else can do that part, and you'll learn from that. You know what I mean? Like, so it's kind of interesting.
It is totally interesting. I mean, and one of my friends said, I gave myself a manicure. I bought some fun nail polishes for summer, and that was fun to me. And the next person would go,
I got to get them done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, there's lots of things. And so we would ask that if you want to participate in the challenge, scan the code.
Yeah.
And go to, do you know what the number is, the text?
Oh, it's, Johnny, can you put it up for us? The text code? It's 55678, and you text to 55678, and you put in Inspired GFL.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you want to participate in the challenge, scan the code or put it into that code Karen just read.
Sorry.
Sue
and Carl.
Into the, and all the information will come to you. And the cool thing is that the businesses that are participating will have a very cool gift that will be given at the end.
Is it a raffle or what? How will we do it?
It'll be like
a raffle.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So you would send your list back.
Yeah.
You can text it. You can take a picture of it. However, you can email it, and all the instructions will be on the scan.
Okay.
And then be entered into
When are we going to
drawing.
launch this so people know when to scan? So.
Well, they can scan now.
Okay.
And we'll get them into the system, and then we're working through the details.
Yeah. Right. we're playing more than we're working.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So anyway, even if you don't scan and then go in the QR code, just make that a goal for yourself. I'm going to play more. That's all we ask. We just want you guys to play. And if you're out in the community and we see you, like, let's hope we get to be part of your play too. That
exactly.
would be fun.
And we would love to hear what you do what to play. Even if you just want to send us a text or an email go to the website and the contacts there.
Or on Facebook, Inspired Good Fat Life. Yeah.
InspiredGoodFatLife.com, and just tell us how you play.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm. How do you play the most now in your life, you think? Like, what's the first thing that comes to mind, Sherri?
Me?
Yeah.
You ask me these questions. I don't know. They're not.
Yeah. Well, we're making other
fair.
people think about it. We got to think about it ourselves.
Right. No, we do. I think now it's finding just being aware of how much I'm enjoying something, to stop in it, whatever it is. It's like, why am I even doing this if I don't just love it? What do I love about this? Being more mindful.
Yeah. And then also at the same time, it's like, okay, well, it's like being curious, right? We talked about curious and wonder, just kind of being curious and having wonder about it. Or why does that feel sticky to me all the time? And like, how can it not?
How can it not?
Yeah.
And I am going to the movies this week with a girlfriend to see
the
Cruella.
movies again. That looks amazing.
So, I mean, and also to be mindful, working those things into that I do love to do.
Yeah. But I mean, just in general, during your day, is there a part of like where you just kind of just, I don't know, some people like, I have a friend that she just loves to put makeup on. She just enjoys that, whether she goes somewhere or not, but she takes the time every day she sets it up and she puts her makeup on, and she has this whole like beautiful time with herself. Just, I don't know, doing that. And so is there something that you do every day like that?
I think puttering.
Yeah, puttering.
I love to just like putter around.
Yeah.
Look at a magazine.
Yeah. When do you have time to putter?
Well, that's the point.
Right.
Right. Just being more mindful of finding putter time.
Oh, okay. I like that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Lots of things. But that's a great question, Karen.
Yeah.
And what do you do?
I think it's setting up my environment and my outfits. Like I set a stage every day, just kind of.
Okay.
Yeah. That's fun for me. And I sort of do that every day and an intention. Yeah.
Setting your intention. Well, okay. So our intention is to go have a good fat life.
Let's do it. Yeah. Let's go play in a good fat life.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Bye.